No,
and you're even doing it in the face of some empirical evidence that that's not what's happening.
But I don't understand the empirical evidence that you're
But isn't that
describing.
what every religious person, they don't understand and they picked one thing to believe in, which you're doing with time?
Good argument. But on the other hand, what you're saying to me just seems to me to be like a bunch of stuff.
But isn't that
that's true?
That's what everyone said about saying the world was round. They say that just sounds like a bunch of stuff.
Absolutely. But you haven't proved to my satisfaction that what you're saying is correct.
Yes.
All I know is a linear time system.
And my argument...
all I know, and this is why I don't believe in God or Jesus or any of this stuff, is because I believe that we are all the result of a linear progression of time.
Mine is definitely the opposite of God and Jesus. If anything, I'm saying that we aren't that much different than a rock. That the universe is just doing its thing.
But I think we are different from a rock in the sense that...
and this is the part we differ on. So don't keep saying a higher being dropped us in. I'm using terms because they're just a vernacular term. I'm really arguing that we're not that different from just a rock on a planet.
But we go back to the question of consciousness.
Well, no, I mean, I did bring a third party in, but I brought a third party in not like a god. Like I'm
now
saying
you're freaking out. Now you're on the defensive because you brought in
No, it's a clarification because you're missing my argument because you misunderstood me, so I'm clarifying. It's not defensive. When I say dropped in, I'm imagining just saying, here's a system and this is all the pieces. I'm not saying there was a God that dropped us in. I'm saying you drop it in just like I'd say you add one more variable to this equation. Because what I'm trying to do is a really dry, not making any God or any observer more important than anything else. So my drop in really just means, think about this amount of things, let's add one more element.
But from my point of view, the only observer can be us.
Yes, and that's why I think you're wrong. That's exactly my argument. That's my whole argument.
I'm with the Jesuits on this one, because I think the only observer can be us.
And I'm against the Jesuits on this one, because I'm actually saying that that's... Here, Pablo, be a referee for just a minute. All I'm saying is that, Alex, you're making humankind and consciousness above and more important than everything else.
Well, that's all we have. Not above and not better than.
Yes.
But it's all we have.
Okay, and
I'm
saying...
all we have is human consciousness. But we don't have anything else.
Yes, and all I'm saying is that I think, right from the beginning of this, I think that that's what's wrong, and that's why people run into so many contradictions when they try and do science, because we're relying on consciousness, and it is not a full picture. It's a broken picture of what we're seeing.
But it's all we have.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that's why I think the concept of making up, saying a before or after life, all this, is wrong, because we're basing it off of a tool that can't actually see what's going on. And so we've made up these thoughts of...
But you're the guy that brought in the third party. None of my argument involved a third party. My argument only involves a linear forward movement of time,
but that's a
which
third
we
party.
attempt to understand.
That right there is a third party.
No, not necessarily, because the historical record points towards that.
Only if you take a third party looking at that.
The paleontological and the geological
that's the very,
record are a linear record.
You're just a paleontologist is a third party looking at it. That's just a third party. Like,
well,
you just picked a different third party.
I don't know, because I think it's more solid than what you're talking about.
Did you ever see a dinosaur?
No, I haven't, but I've seen dinosaur skeletons, or I've seen the fossil skeletons.
Sure. So all you do is rely on scientists telling you something.
So are you saying that that's not a reliable
look?
Not
at all. I think that's totally reliable.
Historical...
But I'm saying that's just picking another third party. I'm saying.
But you would agree it's a reliable.
Absolutely, and then I would take the same things that told me those are dinosaur bones and go ahead and rely on them when they say time isn't working the way you think it is. So, because the same people are telling you that dinosaur bones are real and paleontology is real, are telling you that we can actually stop slow and go the other direction.
No, actually, the same people are not telling you that.
They are.
They're saying they really not.
Yes, okay.
Because some of them are dead.
We know what geological time is. We know.
What is geological time? No one was alive back then. So what do they use? You know what they study geological time by? Atomic decay. Do you know what atomic decay is? That's what I'm talking about. That's the same people.
No, you're using it for a different purpose.
Oh yeah, but you can't say this is true when I use it for my purpose I want, and it's not true when he uses it for a different purpose. If it's the same tool, either it was wrong here and it's wrong here, or it's still right.
Because some of the paleontologists to which I'm referring were dead, Cuvier and people like that, who had completely maniacal ideas about what an ichthyosaur looked like, or what, I mean, they didn't know.
Well, they were wrong about those things.
They were wrong, and then later other paleontologists came along. But none.
So you're saying it's okay to take their ideas and later figure out it's better?
None of those geologists talking about the geological record are saying what the scientists that you are referring to are saying.
But all of the paleontologists now that are the people that studied under them and have continued to take their ideas forward are saying that.
Well, I don't know that because I
There's
don't know the state
There's
of
no
modern
reputable
paleontology.
paleontologist now who doesn't believe in atomic and carbon dating for how old.
But you're using carbon dating as a reason to not believe in this linear forward motion
But
of time.
to put it simply in the terms I understand, Geoff, you are pretty much suggesting that everything we think we know is arbitrary.
Not everything. What I'm saying is that when faced with several things, one of which is the concept of time, that what we think we know is limited to a very small observational tool, which is the human being.
Right. It is limited to
the
capacities.
And this is what I'm saying.
To the capacities of our species.
Yes, and I'm saying,
which
for
is
you
pretty
to sit here and
primitive,
tell me
but
that time really is this way because I'm limited to this little tool is incredibly self-centered. To not instead say that there's a good chance that the problem with understanding it is that this little tool doesn't see the whole picture, and that's my whole point.
But even if you abide by that, let's call it brave way of thinking of how arbitrary and how limited our concept of time is, it's still your quotidian reality that Tuesday at 9:30 you have to be in class.
Oh sure, absolutely.
That doesn't change.
And I'm not disagreeing.
Because that's
like with
what
so many things. I'm saying mechanically it works in what we do.
We humans invented measurable time in order
no
to...
argument there. And I would actually go one step further on your side of this and say that we
and
absolutely,
you better be in class at 9:30.
that we absolutely have to live our lives according to that because that is the only tool we have to understand live our lives. So I'm not disagreeing.
And that tool points to our limitations,
when
but
we
it's all
start
we
talking
have.
about afterlife or death or even like I think I die and this is when I end, I think to even start that conversation is to hyperinflate our understanding because I don't think drawing those conclusions is a very legitimate study because we are using the very thing that will end to try to understand that concept, and
I know,
the
but
sheer
that's a
nature
very
of that.
good thing to
But you're thinking like...
But I have to...
Like the boy in Annie Hall.
You have to go to sleep soon.
No, but I wasn't...
The boy in
time. Actually.
Remember the boy in Annie Hall? The boy in Annie Hall, Albie Singer as the boy. He stops doing his homework because the universe is going to end. And then
in a way,
the doctor says,
that's...
well, it's not going to end yet. You know, the universe is expanding. Well, Brooklyn is not expanding.
Which is true. And
Pablo, you want another beer?